You're watching USA Local Vibes, the show that gives you a heads up of where local events are taking place nationally. We'll bring you upcoming concert information, as well as the weather for that particular venue. We'll give you lodging information, venue transportation, and where to get the best foods. In short, we hope to touch on subjects ranging from fireworks to frankfurters to fire eaters, as well as cultural events. Come join us. Today on USA Local Vibes, we're going to Niagara Falls, USA. If you're driving to the falls, they can be accessed by vehicle on Niagara Scenic Parkway in New York, which runs adjacent to the Niagara River. You can tell when you're getting close enough to the falls, as we did, because you begin to see a bunch of older factories that add to the charm of Niagara. But don't worry, you're on the right track. You're on the right road. Just keep listening and eventually you begin to hear a train roar of water that is letting you know that you are getting closer and closer to the falls. Eventually, you arrive at Niagara Falls State Park. There you will find plenty of parking for cars, RVs, and buses. If you're coming by train, may I suggest the Amtrak, which goes directly over Whirlpool Rapids Bridge to the Niagara Amtrak station for additional local travel to the falls. Another option is leaving the car at home and arriving by bus to the Greyhound bus station, which directly connects with local area transit to the falls, hotels, and other venues. And speaking about venues and lodging, you have an endless amount to choose from to suit whatever price range you wish to pay. There is local area lodging of international chains, and then there are national chains that directly face the falls with a few hundred feet on the US and Canadian side. If you're looking for a bite to eat on the Canadian side of the falls, then try that big 775-foot needle of a structure, aptly named Skyline Tower. Skyline Tower offers a great level of fine dining both 775 feet above the falls. Even more spectacular than the view, while you're eating, the restaurant revolves on that particular structure. The revolving dining room restaurant salad rotates 360 degrees every hour, giving diners a constantly changing vantage point. It is estimated that more than 125 kilometers are viewable from the dining room itself. It really is the most breathtaking view in all of Niagara Falls. From this height, tourists have a clear view of Niagara Falls International Rainbow Bridge, as well as birds and wildlife that frequent the falls. But let's move on to the park, shall we? Niagara Park receives approximately 9.5 million visitors every year to see all of what the park offers. The park is free to all visitors, but you can get tickets to the sightseeing bus to take you around to top visitor sites in the rather expansive park system. But if you choose to drive, you can do a self-guided tour yourself. Many people just choose to walk and gawk at the beauty of the Diamond National Park Service crown. Depending on the time of year and the weather, you can expect an expansive crowd of falls goers on both sides of the border. But in this location, as well as anywhere in the park, this is seen as the most romantic place on earth, with plenty of binocular viewers to prove it. Don't worry about your safety. Safety concern at the falls is not high. Now, if you plan on visiting during the warmer months, the average temperature for the falls region in June is 75 degrees during the day and 55 degrees at night. Niagara was formed by the Niagara River, which drains Lake Erie into Lake Ontario. The combined falls have the highest flow rate of any waterfall in North America and has a steep vertical drop of more than 160 feet. The fresh water that plunges over Niagara takes around 685,000 gallons per minute of water from 4 Great Lakes: Lake Superior, Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, and Lake Erie. Now, in actuality, 1/5 of all the world's fresh water is found in these 4 Great Lakes and will pass over that falls. Niagara Falls has been pumping out water for the past 12,000 years, even as it has receded about 7 miles back. It is said that Niagara Falls has a hypnotic allure that gives some people the uncontrollable urge to jump in and join the powerful swirling waters. Officials say that they recover an average of 20 people per year who choose Niagara Falls as their place to end their lives, such as the woman who intentionally chose to drive into the waters leading into the falls. A U.S. Coast Guard diver descended from a hovering helicopter and climbed into the vehicle to retrieve the woman inside. Now, discovering that she had already passed, both the diver and body were hoisted back up to the helicopter. But there are those who choose to go over the falls in the name of adventure instead of self-harm. It is illegal now, but many people have attempted to go over the falls in a barrel. In fact, 16 people have gone over the falls in the name of adventure, the most recent in 2012. Their desire to experience the thrill has sent them to the edge of the falls and down the 170-foot drop into the swirling icy waters below. The first person to successfully attempt this feat on October 24, 1901, was a 63-year-old school teacher named Annie Edison Taylor. In specially designed barrel she did it. Here is her picture as well as others who have made the deadly attempt. Niagara Falls has a storied past prior to 1788. With few exceptions, the western New York area was owned and occupied by Native Americans of neutral nation. Those exceptions included the military outposts of the French and the British at Fort Niagara and Fort Schlosser. Fort Schlosser was situated approximately 1 mile above the falls. Today, both the Canadian town and the U.S. town that border the falls are both named Niagara. The two communities amalgamated to create the city of Niagara Falls in 1904. Within 2 years, 3 large hydroelectric generating plants began operating in the area around the Horseshoe Falls. Those generating plants were designed to harness the power of the majestic Niagara River to provide the first ecologically friendly source of power in the area before that even became popular. Although the original hydroelectric generator is no longer in service, the building as well as all of its fixtures remain in place and restored for tourists to include the massive building and underground tunnels that lead from the turbines back towards the edge of the river bottom. Visitors are completely miffed about the mist that constantly rises from Niagara. The mist originates from the reaction when the water roars over the edge and hits the water and rocks below, smashing into tiny droplets. When the water temperature is warmer than the air, the droplets mix with the air and warm it. The mixture expands and the plume rises like a hot air balloon. As it rises, the plume sucks in even more misty air. The water temperature, for those who are wondering, can get a comfortable 74 degrees at the height of summer and a low of 23 degrees in the coldest of winter. What about fish? Are they in the Niagara River? And do they go over the falls? Yes, they do. Niagara has plenty of lake trout, brown trout, smallmouth bass, largemouth bass, yellow perch, and smelt. But although those fish plummet over the edge, they have more luck in surviving a plunge than humans. They are better built to survive the plunge because they live in water all the time and are much more pliable and lighter than humans. In other words, don't try to go over the falls. From Prospect Point Observation Tower, you can have the virtual experience of being in the falls itself. The tower, constructed of aluminum, glass, and steel, stands at 282 feet with the base at the bottom of the gorge. From this altitude, you can get a grasp of the water's speed. The rapids above the falls reach a maximum speed of 25 miles per hour, with the fastest speed occurring at the falls themselves, recorded up to 68 miles an hour, even faster than a car. Speaking of speed, if you decide, you can also rent some wheels to enjoy either side of Niagara's borders. There are plenty of car rental places in Niagara to include Budget, Dollar, Enterprise, Avis, and more. In and around the towns of Niagara, you can enjoy beautiful wooded views not yet graced by construction or mass expansionism. Now, if it's a cool water adventure you crave, then might we suggest the Niagara Jet Adventures Company. The Niagara Jet Adventures Company is the operator and adventure tour company based in Youngstown, New York. The company offers whitewater jetboard tours of Niagara Falls through various packages, enabling tourists to have a thrilling experience while still staying safe. Niagara Jet Adventures, like many other tour adventure companies that operate at the falls, gives you plenty of chances to get yourself wet during your stay there. These small speed boats will take you right up to the fall's edge and navigate some of the biggest whitewater waves coming off the spill from Niagara. But if it's height you crave over the water, just look up to the Whirlpool area car that carries you over between the US and the Canadian sides of the falls. The Whirlpool is most exciting for boats and passengers alike. The Whirlpool in the Niagara Gorge, downstream from Niagara Falls, has the greatest depth of 125 foot of water. Many boat tourist companies will venture you right under the falls to a safety limit where you can get drenched by water for as long as you like. Then there are other tours who have one sight in mind, and that is the sensation of walking as close under what is referred to as the bridal veil of the falls as possible. This feat is achievable near the Cave of the Winds. The Cave of the Winds is located on the American side of the falls in Niagara Falls, New York. An elevator will take you down to a series of wooden walkways near the base of the American Falls. The Cave of the Winds was originally a natural cave behind the Bridal Veil Falls on the American side of Niagara Falls. Visitors would enter this cave that was once about 130 feet high until it was destroyed by a landslide. Today, guests can take an elevator that descends to a series of wooden walkways which are constructed every year, leading to a hurricane deck. The conditions down there have been described as similar to a tropical storm, even on calm days. But don't worry, you'll be offered a very fashionable poncho to wear while you're getting wet. Navigating on the water, the country of Canada is no slouch when it comes to competing with America. There are just as many ferry boats operating in and around the falls for Canucks as it is for the Yankees. If you ever get lost, just remember, your group is all wearing the same colored poncho. Then there is the Maid of the Mist, the original Niagara boat tour. You board the Mist via the elevators at the base of the observation tower. Now, one can avoid a long line for the Maid of the Mist tour by arriving before 11 a.m., though you won't usually wait longer than 20 minutes except on U.S. holidays like Independence Day and Labor Day. Tours last well into the afternoon as the sun begins to go down. At that point, may we suggest a scenic nighttime harbor tour of the lights at Niagara. We'll talk about that in a minute. But first, did you know that the water of Niagara Falls has been turned off a few times in modern day history? The first time it occurred was in 1848, when the river jammed with ice. falls was also turned off purposely by the U.S. Corps of Engineers in 1969. They needed to do a geological survey concerning moving boulders at the base of the falls on the American side. The Corps constructed a Coffers Dam to divert the water to the Canadian side, where they performed their mission. But time has not weathered the beauty nor the majesty of the falls for visitors. In fact, other than Washington, D.C., Niagara has more tourists and returning tourists than any other attraction outside of Disneyland in Orlando, Florida. And if you look right outside the window, you can see why tourists are still lined up this time in the afternoon to get drenched. But as day turns into evening, and evening into night, we leave the falls in the rearview mirror. At this point, Niagara tourists and residents alike prepare for nighttime entertainment as the waves crash upon the shores of the river. One sight and mind most everyone can see from the falls is the Niagara SkyWheel, but we'll come back to this in just a moment. First, the fireworks we promised you in the opening. At night, Niagara Falls comes alive with a colorful illumination display year-round and seasonal fireworks. Beginning Saturday, November 12th until Monday, February 20th, the Niagara Falls Winter Fireworks Series will occur on select dates at 8 p.m. on December 31st, New Year's Eve, and additional fireworks displays will take place at midnight. But year-round, you can enjoy the nighttime illumination ceremony. Every evening beginning at dusk, Niagara Falls is transformed into an incredible multicolored water and light masterpiece. Special lights house an illumination tower next to the Queen Victoria Place on the rooftop of Table Rock Center. It is here at the brink of Horseshoe Falls and deep into Niagara Gorge across the American Falls. Together, these lights work to create a breathtaking view not to be missed. The falls are also lit in custom colors for short durations to mark significant dates in support of charitable causes. But if you want to see what the town around Niagara holds at night in lights, then venture to a location like the Guinness World Records Museum. And for those of you who prefer team sports like bowling, Rapids Bowling Center in Niagara. In the background of that center, it leads to the Ferris wheel I promised to talk about earlier. The Niagara SkyWheel is a totally unique sightseeing opportunity. The SkyWheel towers over the Niagara Falls horizon, treating guests to unsurpassed views of the Horseshoe and the American Falls. The Niagara River and Niagara Parks and other landmarks are there for the viewing. The Niagara SkyWheel's fully enclosed gondolas are each equipped with heating and air conditioning for all year-round comfort and enjoyment. The ride duration varies from 8 to 12 minutes with spectacular area views for miles in every direction. But Niagara Falls, nor the park which surrounds it, doesn't shut down because of winter, any more than it ceases to move in the heat of summer. Tourists are still driven to the falls and the surrounding community during the coldest of months. As humans, we do this simply to see if Mother Nature is strong enough to freeze the falls to prevent it from flowing. Now, wouldn't that be a sight to see? It is during the coldest months that tourists flock from every corner of the globe to take pictures of the winter wonderland not viewed in the summer months. Couples come to renew their vows in the winter wonderland, and tourists who prefer cold weather are the first to arrive on site. Yes, during the time of year when everyone's mind turns to peace and family and friends, Prepare to do Christmas wrapping. The river continues to flow. And flow it does in every regenerative cycle between Mother Nature and Father Time, until couples come to return to this place back in the spring of a reborn year. We leave you now with Niagara.